Imagine opening your front door on a completely normal morning, and two police officers are standing there, slapping handcuffs on your wrists, reading you your rights for fraud, $890,000 worth. Your husband, the man you quit your SEC job for, standing right there on your own front lawn, smirking as they lead you away. Right next to the best friend you once gifted a camel cashmere coat for Christmas. They thought they'd won. They thought they could pin the whole thing on me, but they didn't know one crucial detail. For 5 years, I was the one putting people like them behind bars at the SEC. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly how I turned the tables, how I brought my husband's powerful family crashing down completely. Are you ready? Because this isn't fiction. This is 100% real. I need to take you back, before the handcuffs, before the smirk, before I learned what betrayal really looks like. My name is Jennifer Kish. I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. My father was an electrician. He fixed other people's houses for 40 years. Came home every night with calloused hands and a tired smile. Never complained, never asked for more than he earned. My mother, Margaret, worked the front desk at a medical clinic. She taught me two things: keep your word and keep your receipts. I was the first person in my family to go to law school, full scholarship, graduated top of my class. And when the SEC offered me a position in the enforcement division, I thought I'd made it. 5 years in Washington, D.C., 5 years catching people who thought they were smarter than the system. Fraudsters, embezzlers, men in expensive suits who assumed their money made them untouchable. I proved them wrong every single time. Then I met Preston Calloway III. November 2016. Jefferson Hotel, Richmond, Virginia. A charity gala for the Children's Hospital. I was there representing a compliance consulting firm I was considering joining. He was there because his family's name was on the donor wall. He walked up to me at the bar, confident, charming, the kind of man who never heard the word no. "You're the smartest woman in this room," he said. "I can tell. Why are you still proving yourself to people who don't matter?" I should have heard the warning in that question. I didn't. Preston Calloway III. Old Money, Virginia. His family had been building commercial real estate for 3 generations. Callaway Development Group. Revenue, $95 million a year. His father, Harrison, was chairman. His mother, Eleanor, ran the charity circuit. His younger sister, Audrey, was a surgeon who stayed far away from the family business. And Preston was the golden boy, COO, heir apparent, the face of the future. He pursued me like I was an acquisition target. Flowers, dinners, weekend trips to places I'd only seen in magazines. He made me feel chosen, special, like I'd finally found where I belonged. We married in 2017. I left the SEC, joined Callaway Development as Director of Compliance. "You'll be perfect," Preston said. "Someone with your background, the board will love it." I believed him. For a while it felt true. I had an office on the second floor of Callaway headquarters, room 214. I reported directly to the CFO. I ran audits. I reviewed contracts. I made sure every I was dotted, every T crossed. But slowly I noticed things. The executives met on the 5th floor. I was never invited. Strategic decisions were made in rooms I didn't enter. When I asked questions about certain vendors, I got vague answers and changed subjects. And then there was Sloan Whitmore, 34 years old, corporate counsel, daughter of one of Harrison's old business partners. "Family friend since college," Preston called her. She was at every dinner, every meeting, every family gathering. She stood too close to my husband, laughed too hard at his jokes. And when I walked into a room, her smile never quite reached her eyes. I told myself I was imagining things. Eleanor, my mother-in-law, had a way of reminding me where I stood. At a family dinner in early 2025, she looked at me across the table and said, "Compliance is important, dear, but it's not really Callaway work, is it?" The table went quiet. Preston said nothing. Sloan smiled into her wine glass. I let it go. I always let it go. Then August came, and the numbers stopped adding up. I was running a routine audit on the Meridian Tower project. Phase 2. Standard review. But when I cross-referenced the invoices from Earl Fleming Construction, something caught my eye. $340,000 over market rate. On materials alone, I pulled the comparable bids. I checked the contract terms. The discrepancy was clear. Someone was overpaying Earl Fleming by 22%, and that overpayment wasn't showing up anywhere it should. I brought it to Preston that night. "You're overthinking it, Jen," he said. He didn't look up from his phone. "Earl's been with us for years. Let the accountants handle the numbers, that's not your job." But catching fraud was my job. For 5 years. That's exactly why they hired me. Or so I thought. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Eleanor's words, about the fifth-floor meetings I never attended, about Sloane's smile. Preston told me to trust the family. So I started trusting my instincts instead. The next morning, I made a phone call. Not to anyone at Callaway. To an old colleague from the SEC, Nathan Holt. Criminal defense attorney now, one of the best in Virginia. We'd worked cases together for 3 years. I trusted him with my life. "I need to show you something," I said, off the record. "Come to my office," he said. "Don't tell anyone." I didn't. Over the next 4 weeks, Nathan and I worked in secret. I brought him everything I could access without raising suspicion. Invoices, contracts, payment schedules. He brought in a forensic accountant named Miriam Cassidy. The pattern emerged fast. Meridian Tower wasn't the only project. Ashford Commons, Riverside Plaza, 3 major developments over 5 years, all using Earl Fleming construction, all overpaying by 18 to 22%. Total discrepancy, $2.1 million. The money wasn't disappearing into Earl's pockets alone. It was flowing somewhere else. A shell company, registered in Delaware. Name, Whitmore Holdings, LLC. As in Sloane Whitmore, she wasn't just the mistress, she was the architect. On September 28, 2025, I did 2 things. First, I filed separation papers, fault-based, adultery. I didn't tell Preston, I didn't tell anyone at Callaway. The documents sat in the Henrico County court system waiting. Second, Nathan reached out to Earl Fleming. Earl was nervous. He'd been taking kickbacks from Preston for years, but he wasn't stupid. He knew that when schemes like this collapsed, the small fish got eaten first. "If this goes federal," Nathan told him, "you're looking at wire fraud, conspiracy, 10 years minimum, unless you cooperate." Earl cooperated. On October 8, 2025, Earl handed Nathan a thumb drive. On it, doorbell camera footage from his home. Dated March 8, 2025, 8:47 p.m. The video showed Preston Callaway III walking up to Earl's front door, receiving a thick envelope, shaking hands, smiling. Preston's face was clear as daylight. I watched that video 17 times. My husband, the man I'd built a life with, the man I'd left my career for, taking bribes on camera and planning to blame it all on me. Nathan asked me what I wanted to do. "We wait," I said. "They're going to make a move. When they do, we'll be ready." I didn't know how soon that would be. October 15th, 2025, 6:42 a.m. I was in the kitchen making coffee. Normal morning, normal routine. Preston had left early. "Board meeting prep," he said. I didn't question it. Then I heard the knock. Not a doorbell. A knock, hard, official. I set down my coffee cup, walked to the front door, opened it. 2 uniformed officers, 1 detective, badge out. "Mrs. Callaway, I'm Detective Morrison, Richmond PD. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and theft of company funds. $890,000. You have the right to remain silent." The words hit me like ice water. But I didn't flinch. I didn't gasp. I didn't do any of the things they expected. I looked past them, and there they were. Preston, Sloane, standing by the police cruiser, on my front lawn. Our front lawn. 4721 Windsor Lane. They were smiling. Not worried, not confused, not surprised. Smiling. Like they'd been waiting for this moment. Sloane was wearing a coat, camel cashmere. I recognized it immediately. I bought her that coat, last Christmas. A gift, because I thought we were friends. She wore my gift to watch me get arrested. The officers put me in handcuffs, read me my rights, walked me across the lawn. As I passed Preston, he leaned in. Just slightly. Just enough for me to hear. "Should have stayed in your lane, Jen." I didn't respond. I didn't look at him. Sloane's voice followed me, loud enough for the officers to hear. "I always knew something was off about her. You deserve better, Preston." The performance was perfect. The timing was flawless. They had rehearsed this. What they didn't know was that I had rehearsed too. In the back of the police cruiser, I said nothing. The officers tried small talk. I stayed silent. I watched the Richmond streets pass by. I thought about the thumb drive in Nathan's safe, the separation papers in the court system, the forensic report on Miriam's laptop. They thought they were ending me. They were handing me the beginning. At the station, they processed me. Fingerprints, photos, the whole routine. Then they gave me my one phone call. I dialed Nathan's number. He answered on the second ring. 2 words, "It's happening." 2 words back, "I'm ready." I hung up, sat down, and waited. 9:15 a.m. Interrogation Room 3. Detective Morrison sat across from me. Manila folder in front of him. Photographs, bank statements, printed emails. $890,000, Mrs. Calloway. Transferred over 18 months to accounts linked to your name. We have digital footprints. We have a witness statement from the contractor. We have emails from your company account authorizing payments. He slid a document across the table. This is your signature. Authorizing a wire transfer to Earl Fleming Construction, March 15th, 2025, $127,000 over the approved budget. I looked at the signature. It was good, not perfect, but good. I said nothing. Morrison leaned forward. Where did the money go, Mrs. Calloway? We can make this easier if you cooperate. I looked at him, calm, steady. I want my lawyer. Your lawyer's on his way, but between you and me, I have nothing to say until he arrives. Morrison sat back, frustrated. He wasn't used to silence. 20 minutes later, the door opened. Nathan Holt walked in, gray suit, leather briefcase, expression unreadable. Detective, I'm Nathan Holt, counsel for Mrs. Kish. Before you continue this interview, I have something you need to see. Morrison frowned. We're in the middle of... Call your DA. Tell her it's urgent. Tell her the witness she's relying on just became a cooperating defendant. Morrison stared at him, then picked up the phone. 5 minutes later, Nathan had authorization. He pulled a thumb drive from his briefcase. Silver. Handwritten label. Earl Fleming, 100825. This footage was provided to us by Earl Fleming himself. Your witness. Recorded on his doorbell camera. March 8th, 2025, 8:47 p.m. He plugged it into the room's display system. The screen flickered. A front porch appeared. Earl Fleming's house, 1532 Oakmont Drive. A figure walked into frame. Preston Calloway III. He knocked. Earl opened the door. They exchanged words. Earl handed Preston a thick envelope. Preston tucked it into his jacket pocket. They shook hands. Same arrangement as last time, Mr. Calloway? Earl's voice on the video. You know how it works, Earl, Preston replied. Keep the quality inspectors happy. I keep you happy. Preston smiled, turned, walked away. The video ended. Morrison stared at the screen. That's not... he started. That's Preston Calloway III, Nathan said. Your victim's husband, accepting an envelope from the same contractor whose testimony you're using against my client, on camera, clear as day. Morrison looked at the video, then at me, then back at the screen. We need to speak to Mr. Calloway. I imagine you do, Nathan said. In the meantime, my client has been falsely arrested based on fabricated evidence. I trust you'll be dropping the charges. Morrison didn't answer. He left the room. 20 minutes later, another officer came in, Preston Calloway III behind him. Preston walked in confident, smiling. He thought this was a formality, a chance to reinforce his story. Then he saw the screen. The video paused on his own face, envelope in hand. His smile disappeared. The color drained from his face, white as paper. That's out of context, he stammered. That's been edited. She did this. She's framing me. Morrison crossed his arms. The footage is authenticated, Mr. Calloway. Metadata confirms the date. Your wife was in Chicago that night. Flight records confirm it. Hotel receipt confirms it. She wasn't anywhere near that house. Preston's hand went to his wrist. He started rotating his Rolex Submariner, clockwise, counterclockwise. I'd seen him do that 100 times, every time he lied. I want my lawyer, Preston said. I'm sure you do, Morrison replied. At 11:30 a.m., I signed release paperwork. Charges dropped pending further investigation. Nathan walked me out. You're free for now, he said. But this family has lawyers, connections, resources. They won't stop. I looked at him. Neither will I. What do you want to do? Everything. I want everything they have. Every document, every transaction, every secret they thought they buried. Nathan nodded. Then we go to war. I walked out of that police station into the October sun. The same sun that had watched me get arrested 6 hours earlier. But I wasn't the same woman. I was ready. I didn't go home, 4721 Windsor Lane was Preston's territory now. Instead, I drove 20 minutes south to Chester, Extended Stay America, room 412, $89 a night. I checked in at 3 p.m., unpacked my laptop, and got to work. 5 years at the SEC taught me one thing: follow the money and the liars follow. Nathan called at 5 p.m. Earl Fleming was ready to cooperate fully. In exchange for immunity consideration, he would provide everything: invoices, emails, payment schedules, meeting notes. He's scared, Nathan said. Preston promised him protection. Now he's realizing what that promise was worth. Get me everything he has. Already on it. Miriam Cassidy joined us the next morning. We spread documents across the hotel room bed, 3 laptops running, coffee cups piling up. The pattern was even worse than we thought. 3 projects: Meridian Tower, Ashford Commons, Riverside Plaza. Over 5 years, Earl Fleming Construction had overbilled Callaway Development by $2.1 million. But that wasn't the end. The overpayments split 2 ways. Part went to Earl, his cut for keeping quiet. The rest flowed to Whitmore Holdings, LLC, the shell company registered to Sloan. This isn't sloppy accounting, Miriam said. This is a system. Someone designed this to last. I pointed to the screen. Look at the account names. Look at the authorization signatures. Preston Callaway III, over and over, his initials, his approval codes. But there was one more thing I needed. Something Earl couldn't give us. I needed someone inside. On October 17th, I drove to Wegmans in Chester, parked in the back lot, 3 p.m. Doris Pemberton's car was already there. Doris was 58 years old. She'd been Harrison Callaway's executive assistant for 22 years. She knew every secret that family had ever buried. I'd always been kind to her, remembered her birthday, asked about her grandchildren. She was the only person at Callaway who ever looked at me with something like sympathy. She was also terrified. You don't understand what they do to people who talk, Mrs. Kish. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. I've seen it. People who question things, people who notice things. They're gone now. Every single one. I understand exactly what they do, Doris. They did it to me. The question is, do you want to be on the right side when this falls apart? She stared at the parking lot, silent. Then she said 5 words. Sloan keeps the real books. I didn't move. What do you mean? There are 2 sets of books. The ones you audit, the ones you see on the 2nd floor. Those are clean, pretty, everything where it should be. And the others? Sloan keeps them in her cloud, personal laptop, iCloud backup. There's a folder. They call it legacy planning. That's where the real numbers live. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice calm. Who else knows? Harrison knows. Preston knows. The CFO knows. Everyone on the 5th floor knows. You were never supposed to see them. You were never supposed to ask. Why? Doris finally looked at me, eyes wet. Because you were never really family, honey. You were the alibi, the SEC credentials on their wall, the cover story in case anyone came looking. She paused. And if it all fell apart, you were the one they'd blame. I sat with that for a long moment. Thank you, Doris. Don't thank me, just make it count. Make all of this count. I drove back to room 412, called Nathan. I know where the real records are. Where? Sloan's iCloud. Folder called Legacy Planning. We need a warrant. That's a high bar. Judge won't sign off without probable cause. We have Earl's testimony. We have the video. We have $2.1 million in documented discrepancies. Nathan was quiet for a moment. I know a judge, Patricia Holloway. She doesn't like being lied to. Let me make some calls. By October 26th, we had our warrant. The subpoena landed on October 22nd. 52 pages of documents from Earl Fleming Construction. But the real prize came 4 days later. Forensic team accessed Sloan's iCloud backup at 9 a.m. on October 26th. Miriam called me by noon. Jennifer, you need to see this. I drove to Nathan's office. Miriam had the files on screen. The legacy planning folder contained everything. Payment schedules organized by year. Contractor contacts with coded payment amounts. Offshore account numbers in the Cayman Islands. And one spreadsheet. File name, JK Exposure. JK Jennifer Kish. I opened it. 47 rows. Dated entries starting January 15th, 2023. Phase 1, establish paper trail linking JK to Earl payments. Phase 2, redirect audit requests away from Meridian, Ashford, Riverside. Phase 3, plant authorization signatures on archived invoices. Phase 4, coordinate timeline with Earl testimony. Phase 5, execute removal. 3 years. 33 months. They had been planning to destroy me since January 2023. Before I ever found a single discrepancy, before I ever asked a single question. I was never a wife, I was never a colleague, I was never family. I was the exit strategy, the fall girl, the name they would hand to investigators when everything collapsed. Miriam looked at me. Jennifer, are you okay? I closed the laptop slowly, carefully. No, but I will be. Nathan walked in. Total fraud estimate across all projects, $3.2 million. That's federal wire fraud, conspiracy, obstruction. We're talking serious time. Good. There's more. Earl's emails show coordination between him, Preston, and Sloan going back to 2019. They were running this scheme before you even joined the company. I nodded. Then let's give them exactly what they deserve. But the Callaways weren't finished yet. October 27th, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Headline: Disgruntled Callaway employee makes accusations amid divorce. The article was brutal. Anonymous sources, family friends, painted me as bitter, unstable, money-hungry. A woman scorned, inventing allegations to extract a settlement. My phone rang that afternoon. Unknown number. I answered. Jennifer. Harrison Callaway's voice. First time he'd ever called me directly. We need to talk. I don't think we do. $5 million, clean settlement. You sign an NDA, you walk away, you start over somewhere else. No one has to know anything, no one gets hurt. And if I don't? His voice hardened. Then I protect my family, whatever it takes. You're a smart woman, Jennifer. Don't make me prove how far I'll go. He hung up. The offer was real. 50-page NDA, $5 million. Deadline, October 30th, 5 p.m. 72 hours to decide. I didn't call Nathan. I didn't call Miriam. I called my mother. October 29th, 9:47 p.m. Mom, I need to tell you something. I told her everything. The arrest, the evidence, the planning that went back years, the offer sitting in my inbox. She listened, the way she always listened, patient, quiet. When I finished, she was silent for a long moment. Jenny, your father spent his whole life fixing houses for people who looked down on him. He never complained. He never made excuses. But you know what he'd say if he was here? What? He'd say, don't you dare let these people make you small. You're a kish. We don't sell our dignity. Guys? I felt tears on my face, first one since this began. Thanks, Mom. Go get him, honey. I'm proud of you. I hung up, wiped my eyes. Then I opened my laptop, started a new email. To Callaway Development Board of Directors. Subject: Evidence of Systematic Fraud by Preston Callaway III and Sloan Whitmore. I attached everything, every document, every spreadsheet, every video, every receipt. Then I hit send. November 5th, 2025, 2 p.m. Callaway Development Group Headquarters. Conference Room A, 5th floor. The floor I'd never been invited to, until now. 7 board members sat around the mahogany table. Harrison Callaway at the head. Eleanor beside him, face like stone. 4 outside directors. And Walter Crane, 70 years old, longest-serving board member, the elder statesman. Preston sat at the far end. Tie too tight, face too pale. Sloan wasn't there. Suspended pending investigation. And me, Jennifer Kish, Director of Compliance, soon-to-be ex-wife, seated at the center of the table with Nathan beside me. A court reporter documented every word. I presented for 45 minutes. The invoices, the shell company, the iCloud documents, the JK exposure spreadsheet. I showed them exactly how their golden boy had been stealing from the company for 5 years, and exactly how he planned to blame it on me. When I finished, the room was silent. Walter Crane spoke first. Mrs. Kish, if what you're presenting is accurate, this isn't just a family matter. This is a federal matter. We're looking at massive legal exposure. That's correct, I said. Wire fraud, conspiracy, obstruction. The FBI will be interested. Very interested. Harrison hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. He just stared at his son. Preston got his chance to respond. He tried everything. First, I was lying. Bitter divorce, fabricated evidence. I showed them the metadata, the timestamps, the authentication reports. Second, Earl Fleming acted alone, rogue contractor. I played the doorbell video. Preston's face, Preston's voice, Preston's handshake. Third, and this was the moment I'd been waiting for, he blamed Sloan. She manipulated me, Preston said, his voice cracked. Sloan ran the scheme. She handled the money. I was trying to protect the company. I was trying to clean it up before it got worse. He looked around the table, desperate, searching for sympathy. Jennifer is twisting everything. I was protecting Callaway. That's all I've ever done. The room was silent. Then Harrison Calloway stood. Every eye turned to him. "The Calloway name has stood for 90 years, he said, voice cold, measured. "It will stand for 90 more, but only if we act decisively." He looked at his son, no warmth, no hesitation. "Preston, effective immediately, you are removed as Chief Operating Officer. Your shares are frozen pending investigation. Legal will handle the rest." Preston's mouth opened. Nothing came out. "Father, we'll take a vote." The motion passed, 5-2. Harrison voted against his own son. Eleanor abstained. Preston looked at his father like he was seeing a stranger. Then he looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen in him before. Fear, real fear. The meeting adjourned. Board members filed out. Some wouldn't meet Preston's eyes. Others wouldn't meet mine. I gathered my documents, headed for the door. A voice stopped me. "Mrs. Kish." I turned. Audrey Calloway, Preston's younger sister, the surgeon, the one who stayed away from family business. She was standing in the corner. I hadn't even noticed her. She walked toward me, stopped a few feet away, hands trembling. "I'm sorry I never warned you," she whispered. "I saw it happening. Sloan, the money, all of it. But I thought if I stayed quiet, they'd leave me alone too." She looked at the floor. "I was a coward, you weren't." She walked out the side door before I could respond. I stood there for a long moment. She wasn't apologizing for Preston. She was apologizing for all of them, for the whole family, and I understood something I'd been too blind to see for 8 years. I was never one of them. That's the only thing that saved me. November 18th, 2025, 7:30 a.m. I watched the news from room 412. Same hotel room, same view of the parking lot. Different morning. FBI Richmond Field Office executed arrest warrants at 2 locations. First, 4721 Windsor Lane, my former home. Officers walked Preston Calloway III out in handcuffs. Same front porch where I'd been arrested 34 days earlier. Same walkway, same neighbors watching. Different prisoner. Second, Sloan Whitmore's apartment. She came out crying. Designer coat wrapped around her shoulders, face buried in her hands. The charges were federal, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, obstruction of justice. The news anchor read the details in her measured voice. Preston Calloway III, scion of one of Virginia's most prominent real estate families, was arrested this morning on federal charges. His co-conspirator, attorney Sloan Whitmore, was also taken into custody. If convicted, both face up to 20 years in federal prison. I turned off the TV. I thought I'd feel triumph, vindication, justice. I just felt tired. Sloan's lawyer had reached out to the FBI on November 12th, before the arrest. She was already negotiating. By November 25th, she signed a plea deal, full cooperation, complete testimony against Preston. In exchange, probation, no prison time, $500,000 restitution. She sold him out in a week. Her deposition transcript was devastating. Preston said Jennifer was too smart. He said we had to neutralize her before she figured everything out. The frame job was his idea from the beginning. I just helped execute it. The woman who wore my coat to watch me get arrested. The woman who smiled while I was handcuffed. She didn't hesitate for a second when it came to saving herself. Part of me hated her for it. Part of me almost respected it. Almost. Early December, Richmond Magazine called. They were running a cover story. "The Fall of the Calloways." Nathan advised one interview. Controlled, careful. I gave them 45 minutes. No attacks on the family, no emotional outbursts, just facts. When they asked how I felt, I gave them one quote. "I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth. It just happened that the truth looked a lot like justice." The cover photo showed Calloway Development Headquarters, a banner across the facade, under investigation. The company my husband's family built for 3 generations was crumbling. I was supposed to feel victorious. I just felt free. December 18th, 2025, Henrico County Circuit Court. Judge Raymond Walsh signed the final decree. Divorce granted, fault-based, grounds, adultery and criminal conduct. Settlement, $4.2 million. Marital assets plus compensatory damages from the civil suit I'd filed alongside the criminal case. Nathan thought I could have pushed for more. The fraud, the defamation, the emotional damage. I had leverage. I didn't want it. "I don't need their money," I told him. "I need my name back. $4.2 million buys me a new start. That's enough." I signed the papers, shook hands with the court clerk, walked out into the December air. 8 years of marriage, reduced to signatures and dollar signs. I got in my car, started driving north. 4 hours later, I pulled into Scranton, Pennsylvania. December 22nd, 2025, 4 p.m. Snow was falling. Light flakes drifting past the streetlights. The kind of snow that makes everything quiet. My mother was waiting on the porch. Same porch where my father used to drink coffee on Sunday mornings. Same house he'd fixed every spring until his hands couldn't hold the tools anymore. Margaret Kish, 64 years old. Breast cancer survivor. Stronger than anyone I'd ever known. She didn't say anything when I walked up the steps, just opened her arms. I fell into them. For the first time in months, I cried, really cried. Not from anger, not from frustration, just release, just letting go. We sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets, watching the snow fall. "You know what your father would say if he was here?" she asked. I smiled through my tears. "Don't let them make me small." "No, honey," she squeezed my hand. He'd say, "Welcome home, Jenny. I'm proud of you." I stayed 3 days, ate her cooking, slept in my childhood bedroom, let the silence heal what the noise had broken. On December 28th, I made a decision. I wasn't going back to Richmond. I wasn't going back to DC. I wasn't going back to any world that had Callaway fingerprints on it. I filed paperwork with the Pennsylvania Department of State. Business name, Kish Compliance Advisors, LLC. Sole proprietor, Jennifer Kish. I'd rent a small office on Main Street, take clients who needed real compliance help, build something that was mine. Not Callaway, not anyone else's. Mine. A few days later, I got an email. From Audrey Callaway. Subject, thank you. The message was short. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. But I wanted you to know. What you did took courage I've never had. If you're ever willing to talk, coffee sometime, I'd like that. No pressure, no expectations. Just thank you for being brave." I read it 3 times. I didn't know if I could forgive her, or any of them, but I knew I could listen. Maybe that was a start. Some bridges you burn, some you leave standing, and some you rebuild on your own terms. Preston Callaway III was convicted on federal charges in March 2026. Wire fraud, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. The judge gave him 7 years, federal prison, no parole. Sloan Whitmore testified against him, every detail, every conversation, every plan. She got probation, 3 years, community service, a $500,000 fine. She moved to Seattle, changed her name, tried to disappear. I don't know where she is now, I don't care. Harrison Callaway resigned as chairman 6 months after the arrests. The company was sold to a development firm from Charlotte. The Callaway name came off the buildings. 90 years of legacy, gone. Eleanor Callaway stopped attending charity galas. I heard she spends most of her time at their vacation home in the Outer Banks. I don't imagine we'll ever speak again. Audrey and I did get coffee. Once, then twice. She's still a coward in some ways. Still afraid of her family, but she's trying. I'm not sure what we are. Not friends, not enemies, something in between. Something honest. My mother is doing well, still in remission, still on that porch every Sunday morning with her coffee and her crossword puzzle. I visit every month. And me? I'm standing at the window of my office. Main Street, Scranton. 3rd floor. Small space. Enough. The snow is melting. Spring is coming. My phone buzzes. New client inquiry. I answer. Kish Compliance Advisors. This is Jennifer. A pause on the other end. Hi, I was referred by a colleague. I think someone at my company might be cooking the books. I don't know who to trust. I don't know what to do. I smile, pull up a fresh document. You called the right person. Tell me everything. Eleanor Callaway once told me, "Compliance isn't really Callaway work, is it?" She was right, it wasn't. Compliance work caught her son. Compliance work exposed the fraud. Compliance work set me free. It wasn't Callaway work, it was my work. And it was enough. My name is Jennifer Kish. I'm 36 years old. I'm a compliance consultant, a daughter, a survivor. And for the first time in a very long time, I know exactly who I am. If you're listening to this and you're in a house that was never really yours, surrounded by people who never really saw you, trust me, you already have everything you need. The question is whether you're ready to use it. I hope you are. I hope you choose yourself, because I did. And it saved my life. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it meant something to you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below. I'd love to know which moment hit hardest for you. Was it the coat, the video, the board meeting, Mom's words on the phone? Let me know. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it. Until next time.